We are here with less than 24 hours before the spot Bitcoin ETF is set to be approved. We have an ETF expert joining us today. Fred Krueger is calling for a $500,000 Bitcoin this cycle. Fred has a math PhD from Stanford, was hired in the late 80s on Wall Street as one of the first prop traders who worked for Solomon Brothers and Greenwich Capital. Fred was trading $1 billion balance of capital, so he has a thing to say or two about these ETFs. Fred also had 10 non-crypto exits, fund invested in many companies. The fee wars are getting wild. Fred, what's going on here? We just see Bitwise has just updated their fee to be 0.2% instead of 0.24%, and BlackRock's at 0.3% and 0.2% for the first 5 billion.
What's going on is this is, as the Bloomberg guys say, this is the Terradome, right? This is battle until the death, and this is shaping up. I am not exaggerating, right? This is shaping up to be the largest ETF launch in the history of ETF launches, right? So the previous record, I think, was 2.1 billion. And we pretty much know that BlackRock has lined up on their own $2 billion. They are probably going to deploy that day one, right? So they will deploy that on Thursday. So this is going to be a marketing event where the number one thing in your marketing pitch is how much money are you bringing to the table on day one? And BlackRock is basically going to show everybody who's daddy. And it's what they do, you know. And, they're basically saying, this is where we are. We're 30 basis points. Now, everybody else has to fight that 30 basis points, right? I think that if you had told me where I would expect this to be myself 6 months ago, I would say half a percent, right? 50 basis points. This is coming in more aggressive than that. And it's aggressive because people are viewing this as a massive mass scale opportunity, right? And so let me just quantify that in terms of dollars coming in. So if we come in with, let's just say 20, 30 billion dollars that are coming in the first couple months in this ETF. And if Bitcoin goes up 3x, right? This will be by far the largest ETF, other than the Spider ETF, right? So it'll be larger than gold, right? So these guys see that opportunity. They want to be the asset manager for the largest ETF. And that's what is set to happen. So now we have a question of, a bunch of these guys, they have to find their place in this world, right? And, the biggest one, of course, is Grayscale, which has, 600,000 Bitcoin. So last I checked, that was worth $28 billion. So, they are sitting on a monster position right now. And they just came in and they said, we're going to do 1.5%, right? Fees. So they're not.
Why do you think they said that? Like, that's so far above anyone else.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If you had already had $28 billion under management and you can make 1.5%, and you can do that for a couple years, right? That's like $450 million right now today at this Bitcoin price. Bitcoin doubles, that's $1 billion a year, right? That's a lot of money. So if you can make $1 billion a year doing almost nothing, right? You're gonna take that $1 billion. Now, you can always sell your interest and merge it in with somebody like BlackRock, Fidelity, or Franklin, right? Those are the big three, right? So you have, let's just quantify. You have BlackRock, $10 trillion assets under management. You got Fidelity with $6 trillion of assets under management and $10 trillion of total, total sort of assets, not including all their channels and stuff. And you have Franklin Templeton, which is, 1.5 trillion. So between those guys, those three, you have $20 trillion of funds that is, in all their products. Okay, $20 trillion, just to put things in perspective, is half the U.S. GDP, right? Okay, half the U.S. GDP, right? Sorry, $20 trillion sorry, excuse me. $20 trillion is the U.S. GDP, and it's half the U.S. debt, right? It's more than half.
Yeah.
So we're talking kind of all the money that's out there, right? This is like, most of the money that's out there. And that's just the ETF, really, those channels, right? But then you have all this other money that can follow through. So the amount of money we're talking about is denominated in the tens of trillions of dollars, right? And now when you take this tens of trillions of dollars of money and you start saying, okay, what's a reasonable percentage of that for Bitcoin? Well, I would say if you were talking about going through Coinbase or Binance or something, I would say 0.1%. You're not going to get anywhere. But now that this has become a financial product that fits into all their portfolios, that is managed by BlackRock or Fidelity, 1%. That's kind of your number that you're kind of looking at. You know what I mean? So what that means is $100-200 billion just from the that managed channel alone.
Yeah.
Over time you're going to get to that, right?
What sort of time frame are you thinking?
I think in this Bitcoin cycle, but you know what I mean? Like inside of 4 years, you could get, $100 billion pretty easily, right? So, and let's just take Galaxies. Like if you don't follow him, Alex from Galaxy, head of research at Galaxies, is a great follow. And he was very conservative. He sort of said, "Listen, I expect $14 billion year one, I expect 22 year two, and I expect 39 year three." Well, it adds up to about 80 billion. He wasn't planning on BlackRock coming out and saying, "Yeah, we've already got 2 billion," right? So
just on that $2 billion really quickly, because that's sort of gone viral and it's only rumored. You reckon it's more confirmed? I saw a tweet recently, I think this morning, that you put out.
Yes, I would say it's more, because I think Eric from Bloomberg has it on 2 separate sources, one of which is a competitor which is the Van Eck guys, right?
Yeah.
So they're not saying it because they like to say it. They're sort of saying it like, guys, like, this is what we're up against. Okay. We are now, and look, that's just sort of the pre-seeded stuff. That does not include anything that's sort of coming to this mix right now. It's entirely possible that, we have the stuff that's seeded and then we have lukewarm interest. Everybody's sort of expecting some kind of sell the news type thing. But, price dictates interest, right? If you get, if Bitcoin rallies on this news and we can get into the high 50s, right? If we can get to that kind of level within sort of target range of all-time highs, I think you're going to see a whole new set of interest in this ETF. And and Eric from Bloomberg, the senior analyst there, the head of ETFs, he commented on my post and he said, "Yeah, I don't think we're going to pass 100 billion, in year one. 100, he's like, I don't think we're like 100 billion. Like we're talking about 10 billion Galaxy, and now Eric's saying, well, I don't think we're going to get to 100 billion. So what I'm saying is 100 billion is not even off the table. Standard Charter said between 50 and 100 billion. That was their estimate. Very large, sort of tier 1 British bank. So, anything's possible.
Yeah, I want to dive into the multiplier effect that's coming up, but just there's a lot of people in the chat. They're asking about the gentleman in the background, Ben. So, Ben, you're live on G'day Bitcoin. Do you want to come over and say hi? And a couple of people there, JM saying Ben and Fred are good people. Do you just want to say a word or two about what you think's happening with this ETF and what you're most excited about coming? Because I guess a lot of my audience here is dead set against the Bitcoin ETF. I'm against the ETF, which I want to dive into. But what are your takes?
Look, I mostly agree with Fred on everything he's saying. I think we're totally just aligned on the idea that there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines. You know, we both have fathers who cannot really buy Bitcoin. I mean, they figured it out eventually, but it took a long time for them to go into Coinbase and get their account verified, get their bank to accept transfers. And Fred's covered this pretty extensively on his Twitter, but my father had pretty much the same experience. This is just two of us. You know, it's anecdotal in a way, but it's also representative. And there's a lot of money just sitting on the sideline that does not want to use Coinbase or some other website that's just waiting for that money, waiting for the option to show up in their brokerage account. And actually probably hasn't even taken it very seriously. Does not even actually even understand what Bitcoin really is. And this ETF is going to be a great marketing tool, and it's going to become the dominant way that people are, at least this generation of people, are going to hold Bitcoin.
I'd like to also just introduce Ben, give you a little bit, your readers a little, or your audience a little bit of background about our experience with, you know, non-custodial Bitcoin and growing it in the third world, because we actually have quite a bit of experience. So why don't you tell them a little bit about South America?
Quick background is that I've been into Bitcoin since 2013, basically same as Fred, although we didn't know each other then. We met in 2018.
Yeah.
But I found Bitcoin on the dark web when I was just cruising around trying to understand what was happening on the dark web, and everything was priced in Bitcoin. And started reading about it, started mining that day on my laptop.
Cool.
Miners, did some mining, you know, built a couple like websites and stuff about Bitcoin back then, did some workshops and things. But back then it was kind of not cool to be public about Bitcoin. Very few people were. And I think, you know, one of my biggest mistakes in the past 10 years, not being more committed and adamant about the Bitcoin in the future that it could potentially enable, and that is enabling now for people around the world. And so in 2021, I spent a lot of time traveling in South and Central America, meeting with actually the governments of 7 or 8 countries there. I met the presidents, the central bankers, the first ladies, the Congress people, to just tell them about Bitcoin. I would do a little demo where I'd give them $100 in the room and then say, now, of course, if we're on the internet, you can't really say $100 very easily, you know? And they're very familiar with it because they understand the remittance market and how crushing it can be to people that are doing these micro payments across the borders. And of course, you know, I always just say, like, birds, they don't understand borders at all. You know, but the reason our money has to, and it makes it very hard to transact. And so I did a lot of Bitcoin advocacy and education, meeting with these government people. And, you know, what they're mostly interested in is like foreign direct investment. They're mostly interested in finding ways to get reelected, is really what it comes down to, right? So I don't think they were trying to understand what Bitcoin was and if there was an opportunity to help people in their country insofar as gaining more popularity for their elections.
But so, you know, just to speed it up a little bit, you know, we went to El Salvador. Ben's been to El Salvador 3 times. I've been twice. We've been heavily pushing Bitcoin, Lightning, and other solutions, right? Wrap Bitcoin in South America. And I got to tell you, you know, it is not an easy sell to the guy on the street. Okay, you may think, okay, with the guy on the street in El Salvador, great, he's going to he's going to be spending Bitcoin transacting. No, not really. You know, he's kind of, first of all, he doesn't have any savings. You know, he's more about give me dollars. You know, so, you know,
well, the thing is, the volatility of Bitcoin is too much for them to, you know, here's part of the problem. Okay, let's talk about remittances first, right? Because it seemed like with El Salvador, the big opportunity for remittances to do something where Bitcoin could do something really great to make it cheaper to send money than through traditional banking services. Well, that's not the case, because if you're a worker in Los Angeles, to acquire some Bitcoin is not very easy. You get paid in cash, let's say. Now you got to take that cash and go to Bitcoin ATM. Those are all crooks. You know, they're all charging you 20% right away. So you're already losing more than just what a traditional money wiring service would charge you. And then let's say you pay your 20%, right? You got, let's say you have, I don't know, $100, right? Now you have to pay $20 to get $80 worth of Bitcoin. By the time you send it, the price goes down or up. So now you maybe have $90 or you have $70 on the other side. Like that, just it doesn't work for people.
It doesn't work great. So
for remittances.
So what we're saying is, look, don't think that we're total finance bros, right? I just want you to really understand that we have built wallets. We've run Lightning nodes. Ben and I run 2 Lightning nodes with hundreds of transactions a day. So we understand all that stuff.
And like
really
10
well.
Bitcoin nodes. We've run miners. We've tried every single custodial wallet, like non-custodial, custodial, everything. On Android, iOS, on
but
desktop,
now you have this thing where all of a sudden, inside of a couple of years, you're going to have 10 million very wealthy Americans, finally being able to buy Bitcoin, and just like that. So this is just to put them back to the ETF. You can kind of work with people in Africa, Central America, whatever. And it's slow. It's a slog, right? And it was great that El Salvador opened up Bitcoin. We were thrilled. We were thrilled. We were absolutely thrilled that they did it. But it's sort of a mild success. It's not going to change. It's not going to move the needle.
When they were offering, I'll tell you when people were using it. They offered at the gas pump discounts if you used Bitcoin to pay. Then people were using Bitcoin, but they don't use Bitcoin like this. In their Chiva wallet, they turn their dollars into Bitcoin at the gas station, use that Bitcoin to pay, get the discount on the gas, and then put the change back into dollars right away.
Okay, because they're just not open to the volatility. Let's just come back and focus, I guess, on the States for a while. A lot of my audience and myself as well, I'm always going to hold Bitcoin in self-custody and cold storage. I don't trust BlackRock and stuff with hold my ETF, especially with it all being consolidated on Coinbase. What would be your counter argument to that? And I know you personally, Fred, get a lot of pushback from the Bitcoin community with talking about this ETF. Are you just going to convert all your self-custody Bitcoin into the ETF, or are you going to have a bit of both? Can you dive into?
I'm definitely going to have a bit of both. Okay, but here's I will say the following. Okay, there's a bunch of arguments. It depends on your kind of your net worth, I would say, and your age, right? So the first thing is, if you have a net worth and you have, you own a bunch of different stock and other assets, right? This ETF is fantastic because what this ETF enables you is it makes your taxes very, very easy. For example, right? You just hand your accountant your Merrill Lynch statement or your Schwab statement, and it's all calculated right in there, right? So that's a really big thing. No, if you sell a little bit of it, great. The taxes are figured out. So taxes, big reason to do it, right? Another reason, if you're getting a little older, is passing it on to your kids or your wife, right? And not insubstantial. I know a guy who's a billionaire. He died and he has kids. No, keys were not found, right? Keys were not found. The kids don't get any of the money, right? So, estate planning. I personally have gone through this with a multi-sig solution, which I recommend. There are solutions like this. I recommend Casa. It's a great solution for legacy plan. They've got a pretty good solution, but it's not as simple as an ETF in your brokerage account, right? So that's those are two of the reasons. The third reason is hacks. You've seen the Ledger hack, right? Now, Casa is very smart. They do a kind of a multi-device thing. They actually use a combination of Ledger and Trezor, right? So they're not too dependent on any one thing, But any solution that you have there's always a security angle with the vendor, the hardware vendor, right? It's always a thing. An update that happens, you don't know, right? Should you do the update? Well, you're probably going to do the update. Did you really look at exactly what that update did? Not really. So, so security is an issue. How storing things in multi-sig and really there's a lot of different multi-sig solutions. But they're complicated, and as you get older, are you going to forget one of those steps, etc.? So, I'd say convenience is another great reason to go for the ETF and that's just for a Bitcoiner like myself, right? Now, if you take a normal person, a non-crypto person, right? The idea of telling them, here's some steel plates. I want you to carve down your seed phrase onto these steel plates and put them in different safe deposit boxes. Like, no, this is not happening, right? Not happening.
Do you think the Bitcoin space in and of itself, though, people get exposure, say, to the ETF, they'll start reading the books, and some of them will convert over and they will do these things, but also like the seed phrase on steel and stuff will simplify. So they'll sort of grow up together and people will actually go back to the real Bitcoin.
I think the ETF's kind of a gateway drug, Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get into people who didn't take Bitcoin seriously now will, because it's got the name BlackRock on it. And then they're going to start to read about them. Some of them will read the white paper. Some percentage will read the white paper. Some percentage will look into other ways to buy and hold Bitcoin that doesn't have maintenance fees associated with it, right? So there's going to be a lot of it's going to open up
another very controversial subject. I'll just mention to you, ordinals, right? Guess what? Corey Clipstein, friend of mine, right?
Yeah.
Corey, head of Swan. I'm friends. He's one of the more maxi guys on the planet, right? And guess what? He's got a few ordinals. You know why? Because they're cute. I have my dog. You saw my dog.
Earlier.
Shepherd. She's on Bitcoin. She's inscription number 78474. She is. So she's on Bitcoin. So that's another thing. So I think it is a gateway drug, as Ben says. You do. The main thing is, if you've got $1,000, all it takes is $1,000, right? If you've got $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, you care about the price of Bitcoin. You actually give a damn, right? And you're kind of like, damn, I should have put more than 1,000. Damn, what's that at today? Oh my God, it went up to 49 today. Oh my God, damn. Hey, honey, did you see this? That's what you will, right? And then you're like, maybe I should try some of this non-custodial Bitcoin. Maybe I should download a Bitcoin wallet. Maybe I should even, get one of these little, Bitcoin machines. Maybe I should run my own node. Maybe if I'm sufficiently technical, whatever. So maybe I should look at Lightning. So I definitely think it makes people care about Bitcoin, and that's the key thing. Is look, it's great to talk about third world problems that Bitcoin solves, right? And I think if you're in Argentina, you're in Turkey or Lebanon or Eastern Europe, Ukraine, mother is the necessity of invention. You learn about Bitcoin because it's pretty damn useful to you, right? Yeah. But if you're in the US, there's a lot of reasons to not care right now. A lot of reasons to not care. And
in the US, we have easy digital cash. We like to call it easy digital cash, where, we have Venmo. Okay. When I need to pay someone, I don't use their email address or have to go through some complicated thing. I just scan a little code on their phone. I use a couple times a week at least, just doing really day-to-day stuff. Venmo is easy digital cash. Cash App, another great app, easy digital cash. We don't need to use Lightning for instant transactions. I want to send Fred $20. I can just use Venmo, Cash App, whatever. But the rest of the world, I tried to pay someone the other day. I picked up some furniture from someone here in LA, and I was like, can I just Venmo you? And she's like, yeah, I'm Canadian. So she's Canadian. She lives in the US, doesn't even have Venmo. So I can't even send money to Canada or Mexico or anywhere else. Now that's where that cross-border stuff gets more interesting for Bitcoin in some ways, but
now you're competing with Tether, right? So, I think you have to look at where is the, this is like, where does water flow, right?
Yeah, right.
Water flows in the direction of the highest, the steepest descent, right? It's like, and where is the water going to flow right now? It's actually going to flow into the richest segment of the world, right? And, I was in DMs with I won't say who, but a very, very prominent Bitcoiner who was like, hit me up, and he's like, Fred, he goes, I've been preaching to these people, since 2014 about how we need to get this thing on. We need to focus on U.S. major investors. That's where we need to focus, right?
Yeah.
Not all this kind of virtue signaling in the third world, right? That's what's, he goes, like, his thing is literally like, I'm in it to win. I don't care. I'm in it to win. I want to win. Like, I'm not in it to virtue signal. I'm in it to win, right? So I'm not in to say, oh, great, I'm doing Fediment in the third world. So, I was a little bit, I would say, rude on Twitter by saying, look, I'm only interested in number go up.
I've just brought that up just here.
I understand it's a little provocative, right? But what I'm trying to tell people is, like, this woke stuff is not going to get you. It's not going to get us there, guys. You know what I mean? Like, why do I buy Bitcoin? I'm super interested in the math of Bitcoin. I mean, I love the idea of sovereign Bitcoin. I love it. I love hard money. I love this idea, right? I think it's a fantastic idea. But at the end of the day, am I going to put a significant portion of my net worth in Bitcoin, right? Which is growing more significant by the day. If I'm going to do that, I want number to go up, right? Like, so, and I would say most people, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, isn't that really what you're really ultimately interested in? Number go up. And I'm not saying you're going to convert it to fiat. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying.
Well, I'd say there's a certain excitement that comes along with number go up. That even people I know that are the most good-willed, kind people that are out there trying to make a difference in the world, in countries all over Africa, the Middle East, and Europe, and Asia. Like, I know a lot of good people out there that are basically activists, Bitcoin activists. When number go up, they still get excited. Like, it's something that everyone can align around and celebrate. It's a very simple idea that shows that something is working. And that something is more people are buying Bitcoin. Whether they're buying it because number go up or because they believe in the vision and the dream of Satoshi Nakamoto, that it doesn't matter as much, because some percentage of those people that buy in.
Look, the reverse was when number go down in El Salvador. Yeah. We were on Ben and I were on El Salvadar on the day that Bitcoin went public, right?
Yeah, it was
legal tender.
When was that? September 7th. September 7th. September 7th, 2021.
Yeah, we were there. Okay.
We were there teaching little grandmas how to use Bitcoin wallets, like a little market that we created that day for people to try out Bitcoin.
And they were so excited. They were like, "Oh my God, our country is getting this fantastic new Bitcoin. We're the number one. We're the first. It's fantastic." Okay?
And the price went down.
Okay. We went back. Yeah. We went back. 6 months later, I think, right? Roughly.
No, we went back 2 months later after that, in November.
Oh yeah, 2 months later in November. And you know what? People were like, "Oh my God,
Bitcoin.
This thing,
I lost my money.
It's now 30,000. So it's your fault, man. What? So you were the Bitcoin guy.
Devs, do something.
Do something.
Just in regards to that, now that the number is starting to go back up, do you think there's been enough education stuff in those parts of the world where now that infrastructure is out there and they will re-adopt it, or have they just dismissed it totally now?
Number go up also leads to more scams. Like, one of my friends in the US lives in Los Angeles. Her mom lives in Los Angeles. Just sent me this guy. Okay.
Let me bring it up.
Look at this guy here. Wow. This is some crap domain. Her mom was like about to buy $20,000 of Bitcoin from some telemarketer that's doing this scam. Wow. So the number of scams just is going up. And that's part of what the pleb army can help with, is identifying scammers like this, putting content out there that's easy to search and find that says, don't buy Bitcoin from these kind of places. If someone calls you trying to sell you Bitcoin, do not buy it. If someone calls you a special deal on the ETF, do not go for it. Like, this number of scams, just regardless of other cryptocurrencies, some of those are scams too. Many of them are. But just Bitcoin scams now are going to be on the rise, which is very bad for Bitcoin. That's part of what Bitcoiners can do now very actively, is identify these people, track them down, use your internet powers and report them. Yeah, get these. got to nail these people down. Like there's an army of these people that could be AI voice generated. This could be an AI actor right here, made in North Korea or somewhere, that's just trying to scam Americans.
We are seeing a pretty good one with Michael Saylor. I just want to really quickly ask everyone if you can hit subscribe if we vibe. On Thursday, I've got Matt Hogan from Bitwise, the CIO, coming on, which should be a pretty fascinating conversation. But back over to you, Fred and Ben. One of the things that I worry about and talk about, and it's possible, but I'd like to know how probable you think it is of the government coming in and confiscating all this Bitcoin that all these large institutions have done and just paying everyone back in a CBDC.
What? Like,
No.
That just zero, like pretty much zero chance. BlackRock having funds confiscated? Come on. It just...
No, that's not happening.
Well, how can it be a zero?
Yeah.
Just quickly.
Yeah.
How can it be a zero chance? It happened with silver and it's happened with gold before in the past.
No. This is not happening. It's not happening suddenly. It's not happening. I'll tell you what is likely to happen, though, which is a likely around these things, which is, and which troubles me a little bit, right? What I do think they could have is an executive order that if you own Bitcoin in a non-custodial wallet, you have 90 days to report it to the U.S. government.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Or to the IRS.
Well, because of travel rule and stuff like that, this FATF stuff, there's another thing that's happening right now, which is any cryptocurrency payments in the U.S. that are over $10,000 made to a business have to be reported. Otherwise, you could face felony charges. Now, there's no way to report them yet, but this ruling just went into effect and no one knows what to do about it. I don't think it's going to be enforceable in a court right now. But
I'll give you an example, like the Satoshi Roundtable, right? Run by Bruce Fenton, no longer is, and he put a post on this. We're no longer accepting
doesn't accept Bitcoin payments anymore.
No. Oh, no.
So we're not, it is, and the reason is that, it is a felony. It would be a felony unless he reports that. And he said, and actually there's no form out there to report it. It's like, let's report it on a form that doesn't exist. So great, So I think that is more likely. And that actually worries me a little bit because what I think is likely that they're now going to segregate these ETF Bitcoin, right? They're going to say, well, that's fine. You can buy and sell that, no problem, any amount you want, right? But if you have Bitcoin that's, in your hardware wallet, we're going to make it a little harder for you to sell it. And we're going to make reporting requirements on that. You need to report it, and, I think that's really the first step, right? The first step is not confiscate the ETF. First step is let's criminalize self-custody. Right? That's not criminalize it necessarily, but let's put some barriers on it, right?
Make it a lot harder.
Make it a lot harder. And that worries me. And one of the things I would say is, the pain point is always getting your Bitcoin off the exchange, into fiat if you want, right? So if they sort of say, great, any transaction over 10 grand, you got to fill out some new form and I want a triplicate of where every single transaction you've ever made since the beginning of time, and make sure that all this Bitcoin's kosher, quote unquote. Well, that's a problem, right? So part of that is sort of a thing to me is like, I definitely want to have, going back to my personal situation, I'd like to have money somewhere, like, in the ETF, so that if that does become harder or impossible, they can just sell the ETF if I need to, if I need the cash. On the other hand, maybe I have some also in keep having stuff in the hardware wallets, and if I want to decide to go live in France or Iceland or somewhere else, maybe I'm sick of the US, right? Okay, then I can live off of that, So I think there's no hard rules here, but I do think that this is it's not likely. The people being afraid of that, it's not a real fear, I don't think. And I think also, people were saying, well, they're going to lend out your Bitcoin. It's going to be like Sam Bankman-Fried. Also, that is not going to happen, right? This is not going to happen. This is not, they're not going to produce paper Bitcoin ETF. That's not how this stuff works. Every single to the dollar, to the Satoshi, right? Every sat that's in an ETF will be backed by an equivalent sat that's sitting in a custodian, right? So,
and do you think because at the moment we're cash creates, do you think it transitions to in kind?
I do.
Yep. And then is that a way for people? I'm still not advocating. I'm a Bitcoin maxi at heart. I'm going to stay in cold storage.
Well, that's great. And I'm not advocating you go over to the ETF either, right?
Yeah.
I think these things exist as dual platforms, right?
Yeah.
You have the ETF for people who want the convenience of the ETF and the simplicity of it, and you have the other one for everybody else, and that's fine. And Eric Voorhees was on my feed, and he said, "Listen, I'm in favor of the ETF, but obviously the whole point of Bitcoin is self-custody at some level, right? That's the core function, right? And the ETF is sort of a derivative in some sense of it, right? But you're obviously not going to get rid of all custody, and the U.S. doesn't have the ability to do that for the world, anyways, or even for the
that's right.
So, look, it's going to be a dual world, but this is just like, I just want to reassure Bitcoiners, this is a really good thing, right? You want this thing. You want people to get educated on Bitcoin. You want people to be buying Bitcoin, and not only for the price. I say it a little bit like number go up, and apparently, a lot of people were like, "Fred, you're just a heartless capitalist. You just care nothing. All you are is you care about money." But I did sort of say it a little bit like I want to call out a little bit of the BS, which I think there's a lot of BS narrative, which I think it's not helping Bitcoin's.
Yeah.
It's not helping Bitcoin's cause if we look like to the rest of the world like the Unabomber, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't help us, We want this product to be, to be more mainstream, right? We should encourage Mr. Fink, and Kathy Wood and all these, and Ed Bitwise, and these are great like that Bitwise commercial was so great and so mainstream that everybody's going to love it, right?
Yeah.
And so look, we want to bring this stuff to the mainstream. So, Bitcoiners, I think they're having a little bit of an identity crisis right now because, up until now it was our little secret, right? We knew everything, we knew about the rolling the dice and the, entropy and all these things. And, we had the secret knowledge of the inside of Dungeons and Dragons and now there's some guy who's going to show up from Nantucket, in Gucci loafers and khakis, and he's going to be like, "Hey, I just bought 1,000 Bitcoin," and you're going to be like, "Wait a second, I just been busting my chops for 5 years, and now this guy is the new Bitcoiner, right?" But we have to be inclusive, right? And and part of my thing is like, you know what? You don't care if I'm Fred Krueger or I'm a bot or I'm like, what do you care, right? This is entirely supposed to be a trustless thing. So stop giving purity tests, to people who want to buy it. Like, we should just buy it. It's like, don't ask.
Yeah. You've just glitched in the matrix there, but just one thing that I want to say is a lot of people are calling this FUD. Hopefully you come back. You're totally frozen there. May need to leave and then come back, or I'll just pull your screen down. But the conversation, ladies and gentlemen, it's nice to be able to see both sides of, no, you're totally glitched. Fred, you may need to exit the stream and then come back with that link if you can still hear me. If that happens, it is very funny that it came up at the same time they said he's not a bot. But in regards to the conversation that we're having, if you can probably exit and then come back in, probably shut down the whole stream. Yeah, perfect. So I'll be back in shortly. But the conversation is to see both sides. Obviously, I'm a hardcore maxi. I'm going to hold my Bitcoin in cold storage. But I guess what Fred is saying, he's still holding Bitcoin in self-storage. And I know he gets a lot of pushback. I reposted that post there on Twitter at Sean Clark 911 for everyone. He's been in the markets for a long time. Since the 80s, he's traded billions of dollars. And we're having this conversation just to talk about what the everyday person is doing. And I guess what I'm trying to get at through this conversation with Fred is, can we bring the everyday person that gets into the ETF back into the hardest, the bearish share, holding it in cold storage? And I think that's the mission that we should all be on here. So while Fred is coming back, I'll just keep an eye on Twitter there and just going to run through some of your comments. You've been great, everyone, going through. Bitcoin going to rocket after the ETF. When do you think the ETF happens? Do we get a delay or do we get it tomorrow? That's something I need to, we're all going for the 10th now. Jonathan, appreciate that. Really like your channel. Great to see a fellow Aussie. Fred is back here. Nice to see you.
My Australian Shepherd sat on the cord and unplugged the computer. So
it was perfect time, and you're just talking about bots, and you glitched hard in the Matrix. But that's
it. Yeah. But anyways, that was my point. Is look, this thing is trustless, totally trustless digital currency. That's what we should do. And look, let's just figure out ways to get let's work on getting more people into this system. And ETFs are great. So, if I can do it, I feel like I might be able to help more with advocating the ETF than I could do advocating it to schools in El Salvador. So I'm going to advocate for the ETF.
What I was saying is, when you glitched out of the stream, is you do come from that traditional finance world where the ETFs are your language, and it is different strokes for different folks. So if you're talking to that audience, and to be honest, your generation holds all the world's wealth as well. So it is probably more likely they are going to go into the ETF over going into like cold storage straight away.
But it's not more likely. It will never happen. That's the thing, is cold storage. Yeah. So somebody was saying, somebody made this great point on my feed about, look, we've had 15 years of experience with cold storage and hot storage, right? Mobile wallets and other web wallets and all kinds of wallets, right? But self-custody has, we have a pretty good idea of what that looks like right now, right? Yeah. We have a pretty good idea. And so, I was talking with the blockchain beach guys yesterday, right? These guys. Anyways, so they the Galloway wallet. And
I'll look them up.
Okay. So anyways, they built this great sort of, semi-custodian. It's actually pretty widely used just in El Salvador, right? This Galloway, the Block and Beach wallet. And, it's like, they're like, yeah, we're going to be take on Visa. And I'm like, no, you're not. And I'm like, they're like, why not? And I'm like, because Visa has 1 billion users. Okay. You have 1 billion. Now, you guys have, maybe 1,000 downloads of your wallet. You're off by, 8 orders of magnitude, right? So and I went to, and I was just trying to prove my point. And I said, great, let me look on iPhone. And let's just say, and they're like, well, you're forgetting all these Lightning wallets. And I go, no, let's check them out. Okay, what is the top Lightning wallet on iPhone? Wallet of Satoshi. Guess what? It's no longer in the App Store in America.
Yeah.
Right? No longer. Okay. Second one, Moon Wallet. 100 downloads. 100. Okay. Then you have Phoenix, has 100 reviews. Phoenix, 38 reviews. Breeze, 20 reviews. I mean, these are not big numbers, right? Yeah. Now let's take this back to the ETF. Just because, I like to think in terms of numbers. 600,000 financial advisors recommend ETF. 600,000 registered investment advisors, okay, can sell this ETF. Fidelity alone, 40 million accounts. 40 million accounts on Fidelity. You know, Franklin Templeton, you know, the oldest, stodgiest bank, you know, asset manager, you know, these guys have 10 million accounts. Easy. Okay. So we're talking with, you know, Schwab has 40 million accounts now, right? They swallowed up Ameritrade, right? So, you know, we're talking 100 million people, you know, that they don't need a wallet. 100 million people do not need a wallet. All they have to do is have this product. They can go find the ticker, they buy it. That's it. So,
Yep.
you know, you know, we're not a little bit off. We're not even 10x. We're not even 100. We're like 1,000x the difference about people creating stuff. So, you know, but by all means, you know, we are some of the elite, whatever, that we have figured out, you know, hardware wallets. That's a small number relative to, you know, the number of people who are going to be able to buy and put some serious dollars, you know, because it's not only how many people have Bitcoin wallets, right? There's only a million accounts on Bitcoin that have one Bitcoin. That's it. Yep. 1 million, you know, and, you know, probably half of those accounts, if you do dedupe it, it's probably about 300,000 people have one Bitcoin. Less. Ben's saying less. Okay.
Definitely less.
So you have 250,000 people have a Bitcoin on chain. 250,000, right? That's like the, you know, the population of Santa Monica, you know, where I am. So it's like, that's not a lot of people, right? Now we're going to get way more people with way more money and way more new money coming into this thing. So this is the mass market event. This is like before and after, you know.
Can we dive into that a little bit? So sure. It looks like BlackRock has got $2 billion coming in. The Bitcoin price has already gone up 160% in the last 12 months. What's their message for marketing? And so like the $2 billion comes in day one, what's that do to the price? And then what are they saying once they push the price up so much? Are people going to be like, all right, it's too high, like it's $44,000 a couple of days ago?
Part of the thing is, I don't know, when did you first get your first Satoshi? What year?
2019. Okay,
so 2019. So 2019, I actually was the year I got really serious about Bitcoin personally, right? Was May of 2019, and Bitcoin was at $5,000. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember it very well, right? Because I bought a whole bunch at 5,000. Okay. And, you know, I will say that if you look from 5,000 to 47,000, it looks like a big jump. But now look at some new guy. Yeah, my mom, Ben's dad, you know, buying Bitcoin. They're not going to be buying something called 47,000. They're going to be buying the BlackRock ETF, which is priced at 47. You know, they're buying it at the IPO. This is day one for them. That whole past history, not even relevant. You know, they're like, great, BlackRock saying this is going to go up. I'm buying. Right. So I don't think, you know, the way we look at things relative to the way this next generation is going to look at things is very different. Now, I've taken a number of companies public, okay, or not. I have taken some public, but what I'm saying is I've also been involved in the companies that went public, right? And I'll give you one example. So I sold a company to this American company called Vignette in 2007, and we IPO'd Vignette in 2008, right? Now, sorry, 2008, 1998, 97, 98. Okay, 98, 98, we were IPOing, right? Now, my group and me owned 2% of Vignette, okay? And I was the largest shareholder in that group. So I don't know about 1% of Vignette, right? Personally. Vignette went public, and I was like, oh my God, 10x on all the money I put in. Great, take my money off the table. Well, great. The next year, Vignette 10x'd again. You know what I mean? So it hit a $10 billion market cap a year later. Yeah. So, for me, I was looking at it going, wow, this is great. I'm going to get out, right? For the other people who put their money into Vignette in 1998, they're like, wow, we're getting our money in the beginning. And they did. And they made 10x on their money. And Vignette was the #1 NASDAQ stock in 1998. You can look it up. Number one performer. And so, obviously there I'm like, shit, man, that was just, Fred, you blew it again. Right. But like,
and so then what's the marketing message around Bitcoin for the ETF fund managers? Because up until now, it's been, you can hold the bearer asset, it's freedom technology, you can become a self-sovereign individual. Obviously, they're not going to be going down that path. Is it just number go up, it's a hard asset?
Look, I think it depends on who they're marketing to. Like any marketing is going to have certain targets.
Right. So, so first of all, I would say that that's a really good point. So if you look at these ETFs, they're targeting different audiences. So what is BlackRock, Fidelity, in particular targeting? They're targeting the money management channel, right? So they're not going to be targeting retail, right? And that, you see that because they have like really boring tickers like IBTC, right? Now, Hashdex has the ticker HODL. Right?
Which takes the cake for sure.
Right.
Well, they're obviously going after the Bitcoiners.
Right. And then I think it was a Van Eck who has Burr. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So now to me, like if you're marketing it direct to the retail, right? Like if I'm marketing this to people who listen to your show, right? I'm going to go with the ticker Burr and I'm going to go, we're crypto people. Okay. We understand crypto, crypto
Bitcoin.
We understand Bitcoin, but you know what? They're gonna be pushing the ETF, the ETH ETF next week. So they're not gonna we're Bitcoin. They're just gonna say we're crypto, right?
Yeah.
Galaxy, guess what? They're much more Ethereum than they are Bitcoin. Really, you know what I mean? Let's be honest. Novogratz owns way more Ethereum than Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So Galaxy is going to be
I have my own thoughts about Novogratz.
What?
Anyway,
I
have my own thoughts about Novogratz and about Ethereum, but we'll stay away.
Be like, welcome to the new world of digital currencies. We understand digital currencies. We understand Bitcoin far more than these stodgy BlackRock guys. We're native Bitcoins. You want to go with a native Bitcoin player, and we're going to give you proof of assets, right? We're going to give you the Bitcoin addresses where we hold things. So it's going to be segregated and you're going to see exactly what we own, right? And we're going to have these procedures from in and out. It doesn't really matter. It's all just marketing, right? But they can market it that way, right? And they can market, we're the protection against this Federal Reserve that's going to just turn America into Argentina, right? Now, BlackRock's not going to go that route. Well, why? Because they're not marketing to the end user. They're marketing to a fund manager, right? That is, so they're going to say, BlackRock, always leading with the low fees, always leading with reliability and the best liquidity you can get in any ETF. And by the way, day one, $2 billion.
Yep. So the two billion, I just want to talk about that really quickly because I know we've only got a few minutes left. But so the $2 billion comes in from BlackRock. How much other money or capital flows in from all the other ETFs on day one? And what's this do to the price? Like, where do you see the price at the end of the week? If we get approved tomorrow and we start trading Friday, does that happen or do they wait until next week? And where do you see the price, say 5 days?
Everything I'm reading says it happens. We're going to be live in 48 hours, right? Everything I read is that we are going to be live on Thursday. And the reason is that Gary Gensler wants us to be live on Thursday. He's not trying to delay it at this point. He wants this thing to trade, right? This is a Gensler approved ETF. Now, maybe we get executive order, from Joe Biden, presidential order, the stamp of Elizabeth Warren saying you shall not proceed.
I was going to bring up
Right?
Elizabeth Warren.
In which case, yeah, we're going to go down. We will go down to 30,000. I don't know. Who knows, right? But if everything goes well, I really would hope that we have at least a 5,000 point rally in Bitcoin. That's kind of what but I think the just on 5,000 points just on the news, and I think the other news is if we get the 2 billion or the 3 billion, that's really not priced in, right? Because like my friend Joe Carlosale, we're talking just a week ago, and he was like, Fred, it's going to be 200 million, we're lucky to see 200 million, so I do not think 2 to 3 billion is priced into the market. And I think if that comes, we could be at 60,000, we could be at 60,000 by early next week. Who knows, right? But that's, obviously we're on a tinderbox, and so my strategy for this is absolutely do nothing with my core position. I'm not going to touch it, but I bought a bunch of like super long dated, super out of the money options, just because I think, if you tell me what is the chance that we double in price in the next 12 months, I'd say likely, likely, the options market is saying unlikely. So, I think we might still have tomorrow, maybe. Oh no, we won't even have. I think tomorrow, that's it. We're gonna rally. Those options are already going to be too expensive. But I think that was sort of the trade, right? The long shot, betting on that horse, that's last to hit. I like that bet. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but but if you have a bunch of Bitcoin, you want to just get a little. Want to do something, right? So I kind of like that. So look, I'm super bullish. I think 2024 could be great. And I think if 2024 is great, I think 2025 is going to be even better, right? Even better. Because now we're going to have really set the foundation for everybody and their brother to really get involved, right? And I think if we get to 100,000, that's when the turbo boosters come on, right? And the turbo boosters will take us like to crazy town, and that's where, and that's at that point, I think a lot of people, including myself, will look to lighten up somewhat, because, once we get, in the couple hundreds of thousands, I'm not saying I will probably die with Bitcoin. That's my plan. I'm not planning to convert, but I think if we get there in the next 2 years, you should absolutely take some money off the table. But that's my opinion. You don't have to have that opinion.
Yeah, obviously
people,
not quite.
People will have that.
Not financial advice. I guess one of the last questions, Fred, is what do you see as the multiplier effect or the multiplier number?
I would say 100.
Yeah. So
I think, look, it's really non-intuitive, and it's not. This has been measured to some extent, right? We've seen things where like people have fat fingered. They put in $1 billion they didn't mean to put in $1 billion. What's the impact of the thing? It's greater than 100 in that case, but I do think there's only 1.8 million Bitcoin on exchanges right now, right? Yeah. If we get, and I think we're going to get BlackRock, I believe is going to be the #1 ETF. That means by definition, they're going to have more than 600,000 if we're going to do that, right? Yeah. So I think BlackRock's going to get there within 2 years. Eric from Bloomberg thinks they're going to get there within. So some of that can come from people cashing out GBTC, right? Yep. And I'm sure some might, but I think some people cashing out GBTC may just not go into something else. They may just cash out for fiat too, right? But I think if you think of 600,000 new Bitcoin being bought, in BlackRock, you know, and you know, there's only 1.8 on exchanges, and we're having a halvening. Oh my God, man! This, you know, you're looking at just the trifecta, and then Fed rate cuts. You know,
Yeah. When do you
I mean,
see Fed rate cuts coming in? Obviously, we're getting a pause in the next month or the next 22 days or however long it is. But when do you think they're going to start cutting rates, and are they going to start printing money at the same time?
listen, I think that you know, I hate to say it, but I definitely believe. Here's British HODL, $3.5 billion total net inflow. Yeah, I would not disagree with British. What I think rate cuts, I think, look, we're in a political situation in America, and you could say the Fed's, you know, an independent organization, but like every Fed,
I wouldn't.
you know, they're going to get the tap on the shoulder, right, from Mrs. Janet Yellen, and they're going to be like, listen, we need a few more votes, you know. So do you want to go a little bit? We'd like to hear a little bit more burr. And, you know, can you burr a little bit more, please?
Yeah.
And so I think the Fed will accommodate Miss Warren and Mr. Biden. And so, you know, I think they have to use that weapon because it's a very, very tight election. And, you know, this is just how you win a war, right? You win a war by burring.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're going to do. So, a date, I'd say by May they're going to do a cut, you know, and then I think they might cut aggressively, you know, and that's now what the market's sort of suggesting. I think we've got. I like that from British HODL too. 57.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think that, you know, look, for all the talk of inflation, you know, I really do think that, at least for 2024, we're going to have low inflation, right? You know, a site I go to a lot is called trueflation.com. You can check it out. And, you know, look, we're in the two.
At the end of the day, that's how all these ETFs are being marketed, though. Like, inflation is rearing its head like it does in every civilization. And not just in the U.S., but like around the world. And the U.S. isn't even close to as bad as some of these countries out there. But people in the U.S. are concerned about it, and it's becoming more and more of a story. It's in the news all the time, and Bitcoin's the perfect, you know, answer, really, to that being the only hard asset.
And look, and I think, you know, it's really, you know, do you ever want to buy? Do you want to have a chance at affording a house? Well, they keep on going up in price, you know. Even if eggs are not, even if McDonald's burgers are not, houses seem to be going up a lot. So if you ever want a chance to buy a house, millennial, you better buy some Bitcoin. You know, you better save your money in Bitcoin because that's what's going to get you that house.
Yeah. And, well, we saw Coinbase put out an ad saying exactly that, and in regards to
exactly. And that's what I tell a lot of Bitcoiners. They're like, well, you know, it's hard money. You know, we have. No, we just have to. You don't need Bitcoin to become a currency. All you need to do is educate people to actually not save in cash, right? You can buy Bitcoin today, and you can get all the same benefits as if it was legal tender. You don't need it to be legal tender. You just need to buy Bitcoin, right? So that's the message we have to get out. And I think the financial world, they're going to be brilliant at that message, right? They're going to be fantastic. You know, that Coinbase ad was actually great, right? We love that Coinbase ad.
Yeah,
right?
It was good.
And I think that's
look. Guess what? The smartest people in the world are not working in healthcare or in physics, or they're working in finance.
Yeah.
Well, they used to. I definitely would say that in my generation, the smartest guys worked on Wall Street. Okay, I mean, look, I was the smartest guy in my group. My dissertation was taught 2 years at Stanford. I was the best. Okay. Where did I go? Wall Street, you know?
Yeah.
Now, where do the new smart guys go? Crypto, right? I mean, I hate to say it, crypto, but that's where the money is, right? So you know, a lot of people have gone to crypto, doing things on crypto because, you know, the guys who built Solana, they made a shit ton of money. So I think it's still financing crypto, and I think that, you know, I do think that the financial world will eat this up and will have great success in marketing this as a financial product. So God bless them.
Yeah, so we've got less than 48 hours. I want to ask you one more question, but I just want to wrap up again what British Hodl was saying, 57 to 62K after the first week launch. That's on, I think, 3.1 billion. I did back of the Mackin math. 4 billion would bring us to an new all-time high, above 69,000. Say we just have an absolute amazing week and stuff. What then happens to Elizabeth Warren and the propaganda coming out of JP Morgan? Obviously, JP Morgan's named as the AP. Do they now have a conversation? Do they start going quiet, or are they going to get louder as the price of Bitcoin continues to go up?
Do you remember the expression that Bill Gates used? Embrace and extend. You know, that's what he used when he basically... There was Netscape, and then Microsoft Explorer, Windows Internet Explorer came and they said, we're going to embrace and extend. And what Wall Street's going to do is they're going to say, you know what? We're going to embrace Bitcoin. You're going to hear Gensler tomorrow talk about, he's going to have a positive spin on this. It's going to be like, look, we've worked very hard. We've narrowed it down to this one asset, which is a commodity. And we have a regulated structure which is safe for Americans, which is regulated, which has great actors who are vetted. And this is my achievement. So, you know, if you want to hold Bitcoin, go right ahead. We've got the vehicle for you. And you can thank me. I'm the savior of Bitcoin, Gary Gensler, right?
Paid to delay Gary.
He's going to go down as like the guy who saved Bitcoin, okay? And then
that is so horrible to hear.
It's the winners finish last. I mean, nice guys finish last. Okay?
Yeah.
So
understood.
Gensler's going to go down as the hero of Bitcoin, right? And then he's going to have a little zinger in there. It's like, but if you're doing a non-custodial DeFi and you're launching an illegal thing, we're going to come after you. And if you're trying to money launder with whatever, we're coming after you because we take regulation seriously. So that's how I think he's going to play it. I think he's going to paint this little corner of the world, right, as this is the clean version of MVP of Bitcoin. I totally agree, British. Like he's going to say, I cleaned up Bitcoin. And like the Eric guys and Larry Fink's going to come back and say, you know, BlackRock is, you know, the adults have entered the room. Thank you. The adults have entered the room. You know, we brought this thing into the, you know, into the world of civilized finance. Thank you very much. That's what's going to happen. So I think he's going to take full credit for everything. And if the Bitcoin price goes up, he's not going to be worried in the least. He's going to be very happy. He's going to take credit for it. And he's going to be, see what we did for you, Americans. We gave you this vehicle. You can use this vehicle. It's fantastic. Mission accomplished. You know, fantastic. We love Gary Gensler. That's what I think is going to happen. And then I think they're going to start going after DeFi. That's the next one. They're just going to like, immediately sue Uniswap or something. You know, that's what I think they're going to try to do. Just to be, 1-2 punch, like, but I think, that this is not a for us Bitcoiners. This is not it's not a bad outcome. It's a good outcome, they're not going to come for your cold storage. They're not going to do that yet, they're not going to do it. So it's good. Price is going to go up. Yeah, it's going to be volatile, whatever. But, we've lived through, but you've lived through the 2022 bear market. It's like we've been through these things. Yeah, whatever. It's like another drop. So what? I don't care. Like this market's going up. This market's going up. We got
like in the
rocket boosters now. We're going up. We're going higher.
It looks like in the last 10 minutes, it's pumped about $1,100. I think roughly we're at 47,569.
And
nice 69.
Because of us. they're watching us. They're watching me and you talk, and Ben. Like, look, they can sense the excitement. Like you.
Oh, it's palpable for sure.
It's palpable, man. It's like I have not felt this good. I tell you, I've not felt this good really since about mid-November. And I think I've told everybody, it's like the risk return is much better now than it's ever been. You know,
yeah,
it's you know, and yeah, but I mean, I remember when Bitcoin's at 5,000 in 2019. That seemed like a big gulp of a bet buying Bitcoin at 5,000, right? You didn't know if like Craig Wright was Satoshi, and you know who knows.
No, we knew for sure he was not Satoshi. He's the biggest twat on the internet, Craig Wright.
Well, you know what?
No, a lot of people.
The court will tell you because the court is coming on Feb 5. And it'll
Sorry, I swore, ladies and gentlemen.
A lot of really serious old school Bitcoiners.
Yeah, we know a lot of people. A lot of people. A lot of people.
Surprising people in some cases. I mean, you know, famously.
Famous people.
Famously, he tricked what's his name? The Bitcoin developer, you know, with the fake Toshi.
Gavin.
Like, yeah, Gavin. Exactly. Like, obviously, Gavin doesn't believe that anymore, I'm sure. But this he's a trickster, man. He's tricked a lot of people. And there's a lot of people out there who still believe Craig Wright could be Satoshi or involved. It's wild.
So somebody's just saying in the chat, Knoxville news breaking approved. I'm not sure if it is. Well, SEC is approving Bitcoin. Let me bring it up. James Seifert's got something here.
I saw trading begins Thursday. That's what I saw just now.
Really? Let's
rumors, you know.
Of course, there's rumors, but if we can get this is the latest update.
Bam!
SEC is approving Bitcoin.
What a signal!
Fuck! Look at this.
Wow!
Grants approval for Bitcoin ETFs for listed on all registered.
Hog's getting too excited here.
Oh, I think everybody's going to get excited. This is absolutely incredible.
Oh my god! This
Let's go. Let's go.
I mean, honestly, Sean, this is a momentous. It's a momentous occasion, right?
It is. That Bitcoin's been waiting 10 years for this, regardless of what you think about it. This has been 10 years in the making, and the SEC is granting approval. Today's approval enhances markets transparency and provides this is exactly what you were saying there, Ben, and provides investors with efficient access to digital asset investments within a regulated framework. Wow.
I mean, welcome to the world, right? Well, this is like you graduate from college and you know you're on your own now. No more, you don't go back to mom and dad. This is the new world. It's a good world.
And the prediction markets this morning was still reading 85 cents on the dollar. People were betting still against the ETF app.
So this is amazing.
Now the question is not just whether the ETFs will be approved anymore. Obviously, we know that now. But what now will be the impact?
And what is the next question is what's the money coming in tomorrow? And
30
if Hodl is still listening, I'm going to do a video with Hodl. We're going to both smoke a cigar because we both said this thing is.
I'd love to smoke a cigar.
We're gonna look. I can't get Cubans in here. I thought I was going to be able to get a pre-Castro Cuban, but can't seem to find my cigar store, so they don't have it. But I'll smoke an American cigar. I mean, American. I'll smoke an Avo. Yeah. But you know, look, this is a big deal for us. Oh, you have one? Right. So
when I was in the States, I was getting Cuban rejects, which I was told were from Cuba. They're just the ones that would been discarded. So that was a way to get nice cigars. Over here, the cigars are so expensive; it's like 4 times the price.
Oh, really?
In US dollars to buy them over here. And since going to the States, I picked up an amazing cigar habit. So I'm still smoking them every day. But today I will be celebrating with an amazing cigar.
Well, today is the beginning cigar. And, you know, there's another cigar day when you get the Bitwise.
Don't smoke, kids.
You know, but look, I mean, this thing is just beginning. This is the beginning of the Bitcoin financial story. This is the beginning. Now my dad, my dad said, I'm buying on day one, Fred. I'm like, what? I said, he already got Bitcoin. He's like, I have to buy the ETF. I'm like, he's not going to even sell. He just wants to buy the ETF.
Well, when will trading begin?
Thursday.
Trading does begin Thursday then.
Yeah.
And it's just TikTok next block. We're going to see a crazy amount of inflow. What are you calling? So British Hodl's calling 3.1 million. I reckon if we get $4 billion, we're past all-time high. But I think probably British is probably pretty spot on. Over $3 million. We need to get over 2.1 billion for the most successful ETF
I'm just
launch.
going to take the over, since I can either do over and under. I'll take over British Hodl.
Okay. Roger that. Everyone in the chat, let us know. What I'd like to say is hit subscribe. We do have Matt Hogan coming on Thursday, which is going to be absolutely huge. The CIO of
he was in the Bitwise pre-roll. I love that.
Oh, Matt, what was that? To me, like the Coinbase ad was good, but the Bitwise ad definitely takes the cake so far. It's the cleanest, most professional video. I think that resonates with probably anyone over the age of 25. I think it just incorporates so many people. Their long form one. Wild week. That's so cool to see this happening here. Yeah, thank you so much, Fred. I look forward to having you back on.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Cheers,
we'll watch
Ben.
your interview with Matt.
Yeah, no, look forward to having that conversation. Anyway, everyone, hit subscribe. I'm going to end the stream and I'm going to go live again in the next couple of minutes.
See ya. Bye.
Cheers. Peace. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, today the SEC is approving the Bitcoin ETFs. Let's just stay on the stream for a minute. I know it's been a little bit longer. I thought maybe it's a little bit better to chop it up and then start again. Maybe I'll put it out a quick short, but history is made. For me personally, I brought Fred on as an opposing view because I'm always talking about holding Bitcoin in self-custody and not your keys, not your coins. And Fred's very contentious, stirring up the Bitcoin community hardcore with this. But it is nice to have a balanced look at the markets. The ETF, price-wise, is going to be huge. Putting your seed on... Doesn't that sound funny sometimes? Putting your seed on 24 words on steel can be a little bit complicated, but if you've been here for a while, it probably is the best way to be able to hold in cold storage. The ETF, if you want to have a little bit of exposure, I don't know, have fun with that. And it makes sense, I guess, more so after the conversation. An hour and 15 minutes you can go through if you're just tuning in recently. But people are going to use this ETF. And now we've got BlackRock as Bitcoin's marketing manager, like British Hodl was saying. The MVP, Gary Gensler, paid to delay Gensler, has just put this out. It's absolutely amazing. I'll see if I share my screen, if it brings it back up. That is exactly what Ben was saying. Today's approval enhances market transparency and provides investors with efficient access to digital asset investments within a regulated framework. It's game time. It is going to get very volatile. $10,000, $20,000 daily candles. I would like to see what the Bitcoin price is doing right now. Let's just hit refresh. I'll bring it up for you in a sec. Give me a moment. So we've big wick up, big wick down again. So we're currently sitting at 46,227. Sell the news. This is not going to last long, in my opinion, here. Do we come down a little bit further? I don't know. Maybe it's even. So we started in the last 24 hours, our low 46,290. So we have broken the 24-hour low here. Who cares, ladies and gentlemen? This is going to be probably one of the wildest rides, obviously not financial advice, of your life over the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months and going out further. So just chill, enjoy it. I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to go live again with a real quick stream, just so we've got the news in one segment. But if you haven't already, hit subscribe. We've got Seb Bunny, the co-author of Beers for Bitcoin, on tomorrow. We do want to shout out to Brian D. Mint, Bitcoin Evangelism. Next week, he should be coming on, or the week after. Good book. There's a link in the description. For your friends and family that are going to buy this ETF, give them the books, give them the podcast, get them to understand money. I'm still pushing people. I'm going to continue to push people to go into cold storage. The ETF is not, in my opinion, real Bitcoin. Obviously, Fred disagrees, but you've got an hour and 20 minutes to go back through and make up your own mind. I'm not not going to push it or advocate for it, but number go up. It's pretty cool. Hit subscribe, and we'll see you maybe in a couple of minutes if you join us there live. Be blessed. Peace.